Okay folks, I did decide to create this short or long video, depending how it goes, to show you how to fix the BMW 7 Series E38 or 5 Series E39 or X5 E53 BMW cluster, because I do receive many questions nearly every day, and I'm gonna show you the proper way to do it. I'm gonna show you the common mistakes people do, and it's probably gonna help you to avoid those mistakes in the future. So the tools I'm gonna use to do the repair are pliers, knife, a little screwdriver, my electric screwdriver because I'm too lazy to unscrew all those screws, either the new display or just the cable, depending on what is the condition of the display inside that cluster, because I don't know what is it until I disassemble the cluster. So for you to compare, this is the carbon cable, this is the silver cable with the coming with the screen, and you can see the actual difference in color appearance. But in regards to the working condition, I would say after I did fix like few thousands of those clusters, they are the same. The common concept is that the silver cable provides better conductivity than the carbon cable, but the thing is that the conductivity of the carbon cable is more than enough for the display to work properly. Going next, I'm gonna use the like a needle removal tool, and I'm gonna use one more needle removal tool, which is like that. It's for the MPG gauge, or economy gauge, whatever you want to call it, or it's oil temperature gauge for M5 models. Okay, I'm gonna use it. And what else? For those who does not have the needle removal tools, you're gonna need to drill a few holes in the cluster in order to properly disassemble it. I'm gonna show you the spots and proper way to drill the holes. And it is 13/64 drill bit, and I guess it's probably about 5 or 6 millimeters. All right, let's get to the point. Let's take a look at what is the problem with the cluster. We got some wiring here. Let's turn it on and see what the problem is. Okay. Let's run the test, and we can see the missing pixels, but the gauges are working properly, which is good. Okay, let's turn it off and let's disassemble that puppy. I'm gonna use the pliers. So there are 5 retaining clips or tabs, whatever you want to call it, in the back of the cluster, and a lot of people got a problem with this very initial step with disassembling. They break them, they try to open them and they fail. However, the proper way to open it is very simple. So you simply twist. So let me zoom it in. Okay. I twist it and I leave it straight, right? I twist it and I leave it straight. I twist it, I twist it, and I twist this one. And what I can do, I can cut this seal. There is no warranty on this unit from the manufacturer a long time ago, so I can zoom out again. Alright, unit is open up, and what I usually do is I put a little tape on the display just to protect it from the fingerprints. Okay, we don't need this, so we can put it aside. The next step depends what kind of method you're going to be using in order to disassemble the cluster. If it's going to be the needle or pointer removal, or if it's going to be the drilling method. And if we're going to use the needle removal method, pointer removal method, we need to mark the positions of the pointers in order for us to put them back in the proper position once we're gonna assemble the cluster back. So in order to do that, I just simply look where the pointer is facing, and I'm leaving the mark in this area which is invisible when the front cover is put on. And I'm gonna do the same thing for the temperature. However, pretty much I know where the locations are because I did fix so many of them, but in order for you to show it, this is what I do. I mark this position for this pointer, and later on I know where to put it back. It's a little bit different with those three pointers because they got like a little stopping tabs here, 1, 2, and 3, and a lot of people mistakenly think that this is the dead point for the pointer, but it's not always like that. If you're gonna put it beyond the stopping tab, you can see there is like 1/32 gap, for example, for this RPM gauge. It's about, I don't know, maybe 1/8. Let me zoom it here. It's probably 1/8 between this tab and the pointer, and about this one, it's pretty much right after this tab for the miles per hour gauge. Okay, so I'm gonna memorize. It was right after the pointer, 1/32 and about 1/8. That's enough for me. I don't need to mark it. But if you would like, you can mark it for yourself. But again, this is the method for when you remove the pointers. If you're gonna use the method when you simply drill the holes and keep the pointers in place, there is no need to mark it. All right, let me remove those bolts. If I'm not mistaken, it's T10 Torx, and I'm gonna use my power screwdriver to open it. Okay folks, before we continue, I did bring you the scrap board from the same or similar cluster, just to show you the trick how to remove the rear cover from the cluster, because that's the second big thing that people having the problem with, and they do damage stuff while they're trying to open the back cover. So, and the whole trick is in those little pins. Hopefully you can okay, here we go. This one, and on the other side, pretty much all three connectors got all those pins, so each of them got 4 pins, so you got 12 pins in total. So, and they're holding the back cover in place, and even you did remove those screws, you still cannot open the back cover because those little pins are holding it. So what you need to do, you need to kind of pry it with a finger, and what I'm doing, pin by pin, I open it with the screwdriver. Okay, the first set is open, so there is one more pin right here in the bottom going into this hole, one more pin in here, okay, and 4 more pins here. Okay, now the back cover is open, put it aside, and those are pins 1, 2, and so on. Right, so the next tricky step is to get to the display portion of the cluster. So what I usually do, I do remove the pointers. So I hold the shaft and I simply remove the pointer, right? What people do, the mistake they make, they try to pull the needles out, and I'm gonna show you what's happening. So I'm gonna protect the faceplate for being scratched. So the people try to pull the needle, and then you see what happens. Even the clock spring, let me zoom it. You can see the clock spring in there. It's not damaged, it's perfectly fine, but the needle doesn't move anymore. So it's supposed to move freely, like all those gauges, but this one is broken. So this is the mistake people made. I got the replacement motor I'm gonna put in. So it's just to demonstrate to you that even if you pull the shaft a little bit out from the motor and you even put it back in place, it doesn't work anymore. Even the spring is perfectly fine. So this motor needs to be replaced, and I'm gonna do it. I just did it for the purpose to show you how it's easy to damage the gauge. So the next step, I'm gonna demonstrate you how you can open it using the drilling method. I'm gonna put the record on pause because I need to preheat the soldering iron, and I'm gonna be back in a couple of minutes. Okay, I think the soldering iron should be hot enough, and I'm gonna need it for the purpose kind of to do the guide hole to the screw, and at the same time it's gonna melt the plastic, and when I'm gonna drill it, those little particles won't fly around the cluster, because I do receive a lot of clusters. People have been trying to drill the holes, and these like little white particles are around the lens, inside the motors, like everywhere. So this soldering iron just gonna help me to keep it in the same place, and I'm gonna zoom it so you could see it better. For example, the first hole gonna be around this gauge fuel level. Okay, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna lift the front face overlay, and I'm gonna do the guide hole with the soldering iron, just kind of to melt the plastic around, right? Then I'm gonna take the drill and then carefully, okay, first hole is done. Okay, let me remove that mess while it's still warm. Sometimes it helps to leave it and remove it a little later when it's not so soft. And just for the record, the last time I did use the drill method, it was probably many years ago, because lately I do simply remove the needles. I'm gonna remove all those particles, right? And I have the bolt exposed pretty much. Let me try to unscrew it. Okay. Take your time, don't rush. I did receive the boards with the holes through the instrument cluster. Okay, the first screw is out. The second screw gonna be underneath. Let me remove some more particles from here. We'll do it later. The second screw gonna be right here. Okay, soldering iron. Guide hole. Right. Soft plastic and drill. Got it. Okay. Let it cool down for a sec, so it's going to be easier to remove. Right. The whole thing. Let me clear the pass to the bolt, or to the screw, whatever it is. Let me try to drill, screw it out. Okay. Done. The next one is right in between of those two little windows. Okay. 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 It's out. And the last one gonna be right in here for the face overlay. It's right in here in the corner. Okay. And the drill. Bullseye. Okay. Let me remove those particles. And again, I'm using the drill method just to show you the location of those screws, because usually I do not drill the cluster, right? Okay, so now the bracket is pretty much free to go, and what you can do, you can use some prying tools carefully, because there are some traces going right underneath, so you can do it with a little screwdriver very carefully, just to kind of pry it out. Okay, you can shake it. Okay, it's out. Same thing from the other side. And sometimes this white bracket is very fragile. It's just falling apart. So don't be afraid. That happens when this part of the bracket is just falling away. That's no problem. You still can reuse the same bracket. And we can do the same thing on that side. Carefully pry it out, and you're done. So now you have an access to the LCD screen, and let's take a look on it. Most likely it's gonna be not good to be reused, because for vehicles 2000 and newer, 8 out of 10 chance that it's gonna be bad display, and I'm gonna show you why if this is the case. Let me remove some stuff from here. What I usually do, I put this silicone or rubber strip upside down to provide the better contact next time it's going to be reinstalled. Okay, I'm going to put the display on the side for the moment, and what I would like to do is to remove the needles, because anyway we need to remove them to replace the motor, and just to show you the second approach when you do remove the needles and when you do not drill the holes in the cluster. And by the way, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna replace the whole this white thing with a brand new one, just because the customer doesn't deserve to receive the cluster with the holes. It just was done just to show you how it can be done in case you don't have the needle removal tools. All right, so let's go ahead and let's remove the needles. So I'm gonna hold the shaft, and I'm gonna carefully twist and pull the needle out, right? Same thing here. And same thing here. And in regards to the MPG gauge, I'm gonna use the needle removal tool, and where is it? It's right here. And there are two types of the motors. Actually, I mean, based on the manufacturer date, some of them are with the like white, you know, spots in the back. Some of them are with the black spots. The ones in the black spots, with the black spots, only assuming this is the MPG gauge, you can pull the needle out. 99% is going to be safe to do so. Again, it's not related to the all other 4 gauges, just for the MPG gauge. As long as your MPG gauge got the, you know, those black spots in the back, the motor, you can pull the needle out. You're gonna be safe. If you got the white spots, like this one, you need to use the removal tool in order to safely pull the needle out. Okay. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna put a protective tape in the bottom just to save the surface of the face overlay. I'm gonna remove the black cap. Okay. I'm gonna insert this needle removal tool in the correct spot. And I'm gonna pull the needle out. Okay. Alright, motor is safe, we got the needle here. Okay. Ta-da! The residuals from the drilling, and while I didn't forget, I'm gonna replace the motor I broke on the purpose, just not to forget about it later. So if any of the motor's been broken, you still need to replace or remove the whole face of the cluster in order to get access to those bolts holding the motor in place. I'm gonna take the new motor and we got those replacement motors in stock. I'm gonna put a link in the description, and it's good I just remembered. There is a difference how you're gonna insert the motor, if you're gonna insert it that way or that way. You need to make a note to yourself how the old motor was installed and install the new one exactly the same way. If you're gonna flip it 180 degrees, it won't work. So it's only one proper position for the motor to work, right? Okay, insert the motor, and the bolt's gonna pull it into the right position. 1, 2. Okay, motor's fixed. I'm gonna remove. Actually, I'm gonna replace the whole thing for the customer. Okay, the bolts. All right, now we have the circuit board, and what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna remove this motor. It's just gonna provide me more access to the contacts on the circuit board. Let me remove this. All right. One, two. Motor's out. I'm sorry, I got the incoming call. Alright, I'm back. Motor removed. And take a look on those contacts. They got the residual stuff from the old cable we recently removed. What the common mistake for people, they don't clean this stuff and they just put a new cable or new display without preparing the surface, which is a mistake. Most likely a lot of pixels won't come back to life because there simply is not going to be good contact between the contact pad and a cable. So I'm going to show you how to properly clean this contact pad. You're gonna need some acetone. You can use some nail polish remover. You can purchase some 100% acetone in your hardware store like Home Depot or whatever, and you're gonna be using some Q-tips, and that's pretty much. Take your time, make sure the contacts are clean. If you're gonna clean the contact that way, you may transfer all these residuals from the contacts into the place in between of the contacts. You will see the contacts are shiny, but the dirt in between of those contacts is gonna make a short circuit. Not good. So make sure you clean it that way, making sure there is no dirt in between of the contacts. And what you can do later after you clean it, I'm gonna show it later again. I use my cell phone flashlight and I'm just gonna shine it through the contacts, and just to make sure there is no residuals in the bottom, right? Sometimes it's very hard to remove, sometimes it's very easy to remove. In case it's hard to remove, what I usually do, I use some hot air gun, what I use usually for soldering, but it's helping me to kind of melt or preheat this like glue or whatever there is, and it's just make it 50% easier to clean that residual. But let's take a look how bad is it or how good is it, and we'll see the results shortly. It's pretty tough. So let's see if it's gonna be the difference with the hot air. Nothing crazy, just a little bit to preheat, and we'll see if it's gonna make a difference in terms of cleaning. Alright, should be enough. Okay, let's do the same trick again. And you can see right on the Q-tip, it just gets much more dirt. Do not use any like sanding paper or some abrasive to clean it. Q-tip, acetone, this is it, nothing else. Let me go there one more time, just to make sure. It cannot be too clean. The cleaner the better. You can see the difference now. Right? Okay, next section. cell phone test. It's perfectly clean, no mess in between all the contacts, all good. Okay, what I'm gonna do now, I'm gonna use some contact cleaner. Okay, just to clean the residuals from the acetone. And as of now, the board is ready for the next step. So now we need to prepare, or first of all check the condition of the display. We did remove, and we'll see if we're gonna reuse it or we're gonna install the brand new display, right? So I'm gonna put it on the side, and let's take a look on the display. It's sometimes it's obvious when the display is bad, even when the ribbon cable is installed. Let me try to see if it's gonna focus. You can see some of the kind of rust spots, I don't know, rust spots right on the cable. Not sure if you can see it on camera, but there are a few right here, 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 like a lot of them. Let's take a look. I remove the cable. What you can do is you can okay, focus. You can use dry Q-tip to clean the residuals without the acetone, just a dry Q-tip. And what I do use, however I do not recommend to use, is the knife to clean the residuals. I just slide it right here, and it's removes the residuals from the cable. It's easier to do on the edge of the table because you need to be very precise with the angle. But yeah, this is how I do it. But I do not recommend it for the people who never done it before. Anyway, I got replacement screens in case I'm gonna damage this one. So let's clean it with a Q-tip and see the results. By the way, I have the replacement LCDs in stock, and I'm gonna put the link in the description so you can purchase them in case you need them. They are coming with a silver cable attached by the manufacturer, so you will skip this step with attaching the cable to the LCD screen. You will need to attach it just to the circuit board. But again, you will need to do it properly, otherwise it won't work. Right now I'm gonna use some contact cleaner, just a little bit. To remove the very residuals. A little bit more. Okay, what I see that this LCD cannot be reused because some of the contacts are being corroded. So if I'm gonna reuse it, I'll see a few missing lines on the screen, no matter how good I install the new cable. So this time we're gonna skip the part when I do solder the cable to the screen. It's probably gonna be in my next videos, and I'm gonna reuse, actually I'm gonna use the brand new screen and I'm gonna install it on the circuit board. So I'm gonna put this screen aside. We won't gonna use it today. So yeah, actually this is the good example when for the people who just purchased their cable and before they did disassemble the unit, right? And if they're gonna try to install the good cable, no matter how good they're gonna install it, it's not gonna work 100% because of the bad display, right? Okay, the next step in our case, I'm gonna take the brand new display, right? Once again, it's coming with a silver cable, and the ones that we do have in stock are required to be bonded with a bonding machine or soldering iron with a T-tip attachment. I'm gonna show you in a moment. And this is how it's coming from the manufacturer, perfectly packed. It's gonna have the protective tape from on both sides on the screen. I'm gonna remove it later. Just don't want to put some fingertip marks on it. And I'm gonna show you in a moment how to install it properly. And meanwhile, I'm gonna need to preheat the soldering iron, and the soldering iron looks like that. I'm gonna show you in a moment. Alright. This is a soldering iron. I did use it probably thousands times, and it's got some burns from the other soldering irons. I forgot on it. So this is the T-tip. I'm gonna need to put the rubber or silicone strip on it just to prevent the cable from melting. So I put the strip here, and I'm gonna cut the excess. So right, silicone strip installed. So I'm gonna put the soldering iron just to preheat it for like 3-4 minutes, and I'm gonna be back with you shortly. Alright, the iron is hot, and let's go on. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take the hot iron, I'm gonna put some support under the display, and I'm gonna align the first contact, and I'm just simply can secure it in place so I can align the rest, right? Okay, so it's now secured, aligned, and now I can start bonding it in place. For silver ribbon, I'm using 40-watt iron, and this gets pretty hot, but anyway, you will need to hold it, press it probably around 7-10 seconds at the application. So I'm pretty strongly pressing it. Okay, I'm done. You can use both hands. Done. Right, secure now. I'm gonna cool it down a little bit. So right now it's holding pretty strong. I can pretty much hold the whole thing just by the LCD screen, right? And if you do have the bench test, like I do, you can simply turn it on just to make sure the display is working. Let me put some white paper in the bottom. Maybe it's gonna help us to see if it turns on. It turns on. Maybe probably you cannot see it from the camera. Can you? All right. And we can even trigger the test. In order to do that, we hold on the right button for a few seconds. You see test number 1. Right button shortly once again, and then left button. And now you can see all the pixels on the screen are working, and it's time to put it back together. Okay. If it would be carbon cable, what I would do is I would put it onto something and I would secure the carbon cable with some protective tape on the top of the cable. Since it's silver cable, it's not required, but just for the demonstration purpose, I'm gonna pretend it's a carbon cable. So I'm gonna put the tape on the top, and I'm gonna pre-cut the holes. So we could secure the bracket. And the reason we're doing that is the contacts on a carbon cable are more exposed compared to the silver cable, and it's easier to damage them while you are assembling the cluster. Doesn't need to be state of the art. Okay, got the hose. I'll remove the protective tape from the cable. Remove the tape again. Put metal bracket in place. Be careful, those things are sharp and they can cut through the cable, and this is the reason why we did put the tape on top of the cable, just for the extra protection. All right. Now we need to squeeze it into the circuit board. In order to do that, I put the faceplate back in place. By the way, I already did put a new one plate without the holes. And you simply squeeze it with your pliers in place. Same thing from the other side. Be careful not to press onto the display itself. It's gonna crack. Secured. Now you install the motor back. And now I put all the bolts in place. More. Done. Back cover. Secured. Okay. Okay, now the pointers. I'm gonna use those marks. Okay. Okay, this one was right beyond the tap. And this one 1/32 beyond the tap. Little hairline. This one was 1/8, about millimeter and a half. It's too much. Okay, perfect. And there is one more pointer. One more pointer. There we go. Okay, the indication of the good motor is when all the pointers returns back to 0, like is shown. If any of them are stuck, they need to be replaced. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Let me put this back in place. Let me put this back in place. Okay, so pretty much we are done. Some compressed air to remove all the particles. And this pretty much concludes the replacement of the screen or the cluster. Let's test it. Yeah, of course, need to plug it in before we test it. 1, 2. Sometimes you need to replace the bulbs in case there are any burnt out bulbs, but we'll check it out in a moment. All the bulbs are good, all the pointers are good, all the pixels are good, and you can find the carbon cable or silver cable with a display in stock. We also do have the replacement pointers, we have the replacement motors. You may inquire about the replacement clear lens. Pretty much we have any part for the cluster in stock. If you don't find it online, send us the message and we'll provide you the details. Otherwise, I'm gonna be back in the next video showing how to solder the cable to the LCD portion in case I'll come across the good old LCD display. And this is it. Thank you. And actually one last thing, we need to put those clips back in lock position. With the pliers, 3 seconds done. Thank you.